At the bottom of our blue planet, covered in chunky glaciers, snowy deserts, and waddling penguins, lies the largest unclaimed and uninhabited place on Earth. This place is called Mary Birdland. While countries like Norway, Australia, New Zealand, and more cheerfully share their various claims to this common heritage of humankind, this 620,000 square mile stretch of land enjoys no formal claimants and no human natives. With the exploration of the Antarctic dating back to the 1800s, it's hard to believe that this patch of land is still terra nullius, which is just fancy Latin for a place that no country is willing to go through the aggravation to claim or take control of. But why? Why not just claim it? Well, it's kind of hard to conquer an area whose temperatures rarely rise above zero. Getting cryogenically frozen while trying to expand your nation's territory is a fate most explorers wouldn't want. So I guess that's understandable, but there's actually a man who tried. It's 1929, and explorers like Roald Amundsen and Robert Falcon Scott had already touched the icy continent. But east of the Ross Ice Shelf and the Ross Sea and south of the Pacific Ocean, a chunk of unclaimed land would soon be spotted by an American explorer, Admiral Richard E. Byrd. He became the first person to spot the land while on a curiosity flight. When he and his crew touched down to get a taste of it, it was so inhospitable that they had to scoot over to the Ross Ice Shelf just to set up camp. Though he barely explored the region, he decided to name it after his wife, and thus Mary Birdland was born. Talk about an anniversary gift. Since then, the reluctance to tackle the most western part of the Antarctic has been high. Despite this reluctance, however, there was a second Byrd expedition that was held from 1933 to 1935. This expedition, led by Paul Seipel and F.A. Wade, reached as far east as the Fosdick Mountains, and because of this, the world got one step closer to discovering the unknown elements of Miss Mary. The Americans sure are a resilient bunch, and in 1939, United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt decided to play hardball. He instructed members of the United States Antarctic Service Expedition to take steps to claim some of the Antarctica as United States territory. Mary Birdland was the #1 priority on that list. But unfortunately for the Americans, the voyage didn't prove as fruitful as they had hoped, considering nothing was formalized. I mean, to be fair, it's pretty hard to cross the T's and dot the I's during a world war. And by the height of World War II, Antarctica was looking like one of the better strategic options for missile and tactical advantage. During this period, nations ran to claim various portions that American and British explorers had spotted, and nobody was respecting the Curtis "I saw it first" rule. The Nazis even dropped swastikas via plane. Talk about creating chaos. And by 1959, the Second World War had left and the Cold War was in full effect. So what did these warring nations do? Did they set up nuclear launch sites, bombard their enemies with more land claims, or set up more military bases? Well, no. They did the one thing world leaders seemed to be allergic to. The nations that had previously laid claim to Antarctica came together to form the Atlantic Treaty. In a nutshell, this allowed countries to designate Antarctica as a safe place for scientists to discover and share research with one another, irrespective of national boundaries or claims. They also made it a demilitarized zone and statement of peace where no political or military activities could take place. Oh yeah, and you can't hunt or capture animals either. Without getting into the grey area of land claims, Antarctica is one of the only places on Earth where nations can forget about war and territorial claims and just chill out. But what about Mary Birdland? Well, with the treaty in full effect, land claims were put on hold, and nations focused on cooperating instead of fighting. The United States even established a research base named Byrd Station. And no, this wasn't a trick to gain rights to the icy wasteland. And in all honesty, why would they? It's so hard to get work done there because of the wild weather conditions that researchers only occupy the base during the summer. With winter temperatures that can reach below -80 degrees Celsius and summer days that tip just above 4 degrees, it's no Miami Beach. But let's say they did want to. I mean, the United States is a country that likes expanding, and currently they don't have any official claims here, other than a few research bases. Well, unfortunately for the United States, this is where Article 4 of the treaty comes into play. It states that nothing contained in the present treaty shall be interpreted as renunciation by any contracting party of previously asserted rights of or claims to territorial sovereignty in Antarctica. Whew. To put that into layman's terms, the treaty gives a pat on the back to any nation that has claimed certain portions of Antarctica before, letting them know that their efforts were not in vain. This way, none of the nations had to give up their claims and deal with the crippling emasculation that comes with renunciation. While this clause pacifies the nations, the next one rips the band-aid off. The clause states that no new claim or enlargement of an existing claim to territorial sovereignty in Antarctica shall be asserted while the present treaty is enforced. This means even if the United States wanted to expand their territorial claims, it ain't gonna happen until 2040 when the treaty comes under review. Bureaucracy at its best. But it stops nations from flexing their muscles. So if the treaty nations whose numbers have reached 53 can't take Mary Birdland, can anyone else? Say you wanted to make the voyage to the Antarctic and set up your own country, make a national anthem and have a coronation. Would you be able to? Well, sorry, but no. No activity from outside of the treaty will be recognized, and you'll have a pretty hard time trying to get the United Nations to recognize the sovereignty of your new nation. That doesn't mean people haven't tried though. One particularly hilarious situation involves some zany loopholes and personal currency. Travis McHenry will forever go down in history as the genius who tried to make a nation out of Miss Mary. While serving in the Navy in 2001, he declared Mary Birdland as West Arctica and crowned himself King of the Grand Duchy of West Arctica. Check this guy out, he's got a royal suit and everything. Travis asserts that a loophole in the Antarctic Treaty legitimizes his claim. He even sent out letters to various governments urging them to legitimize his territory and grant him official rulership and recognition. But yeah, the Navy eventually found out he was trying to create his own nation and kindly told him to leave. He didn't give up though, and as of 2018, West Arctica boasts an impressive 2,356 citizens who don't live there. So while he's not likely to be crowned anytime soon, he still keeps his spirit high and refers to himself as the Grand Duke. It sounds like a discarded Rick and Morty episode, but I'm serious. In essence, nobody wants Mary Birdland, because Mary Birdland won't have them. So will we ever be able to live in Antarctica full time and not just visit a few months out of the year? Well, science and tech are evolving each day, and if we can send someone to the moon, then it's only a matter of time before we conquer Earth's final frontier. Personally, I'm waiting for Elon to build some Back to the Future style travel bus that can withstand sub-zero temperatures and blistering dry winds. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, why not subscribe? Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.